It's time for the latest buzz from Guns and Ammo Magazine.
All right, Eric, let's talk product launches. I'm going to start, let's state the obvious. The big time of the year for new product launches for firearms is going to be SHOT Show. We see dozens to possibly even hundreds of new products come out at SHOT Show every year. But then about this time of the year, we see a bunch of mid-year launches getting ready for NASGW and a number of trade shows. And so one of the unique parts of working for Guns and Ammo is around late July, mid-year, we have our annual Roundtable event, which is a really cool exclusive event where we invite a lot of big manufacturers to come out and show us new products that they're launching mid-year, getting ready for the fall trade shows. So, Eric, let's start. Tell me a little bit about Roundtable and what are some standout products for you from Roundtable this year?
Well, real quick, I guess a history about Roundtable. It goes back to circa 2002, 2003. It used to be held at Paso Park, which a lot of single stack challenge or steel challenge shooters will remember that from back in the days when Dick Metcalf's place in Paso Park, Illinois, on the border near Quincy, Illinois, and right there on the Mississippi River, was hosting all these matches. Well, that was sort of an assembly site where all these gun writers and industry people would gather, and they decided to have a roundtable for these gun writers. And it was a great opportunity for different manufacturers to get together and tease their wares a little bit. And as far as the magazine side goes, we were able to plan out coverage in advance for the coming months, so that basically our coverage would be in line with these announcements, usually around anywhere from the NASGW show in October timeframe all the way to SHOT Show in January. So it's been going on. It's been OSG's Roundtable for a couple of decades, and what I love about it, it's a reunion every summer of personalities of all types, and we've seen some of them have passed away. Some of them are still with us. We're excited. When I go to Roundtable, I look forward to seeing, Craig Boddington, Tom Beckstrand, James Tarr, Patrick Sweeney. All of these interesting people come together. We shoot together. Sometimes it's a little bit competitive, and we start, hazing each other a little bit on the firing lines to best one another. But it's just a great place to interact, not only with each other, but also with industry representatives.
Right.
And it gives them information about their new products, and perhaps they may make some tweaks before those new products get launched later in the year. It's kind of a last chance beta test for some of these products.
And that's a really cool part of Roundtable is that how many times have we seen they say, okay, here's a prototype, we're going to go shoot it on the range, and then we put our 2 cents in and we see those changes in the production models months, sometimes a year, but sometimes as fast as a number of weeks. We'll see production line changes before the product is actually launched because of the feedback that we're able to give them at Roundtable. And this year we had it at such a unique place. It was at the Cameo shooting complex in Colorado near Grand Junction. What an incredible shooting facility. I have to say, I highly recommend anyone that's in Colorado needs to go to the Cameo shooting complex. Truthfully, it's hard to imagine, with the anti-2A, what do you want to call it, direction that Colorado has these days. It's incredible that they have, I cannot think of a better public range for shooting. You literally are shooting at a mountainside from distances of 100 to 500-600 yards up the side of a mountain. They have sporting clays. They have a 3,000 yard long range, I believe, as well. Pistol bays. It's an incredible complex.
Right. And, with that, the bays that we use, we only use about 8 bays, but there's some 33 ranges that are on that facility. And with the bays we do, thankfully, it allows us to go from range to range to range, and it gives some privacy for these manufacturers to show us and let us test and evaluate some of these new products that had never been seen before without real concern of any spies from the industry, next door to them. So, and some of my favorites, of course, we had, I've got a list in front of me, day to day. We had Monday, July 28th through Thursday, July 31st. On Monday, we had Smith Wesson there. We had Kimber. We had Aimpoint, Savage, Banish suppressors, Fiocchi, TriStar, Cellmark, meaning Pulsar and Sightmark and Inforce lights. And we were also visited by Meprolite and Q firearms, as well as Crazy Quail. Always a fun time at Crazy Quail shooting that
Yes.
multiple clay thrower, and Avient. And Avient had out that heat release barrel technology, and that was really fascinating. How they're able to use a ceramic almost core that wraps the stainless steel of the barrel, and it extracts the heat from the barrel and then sheds it, while there's a carbon fiber outer wrap as well. And these barrels are super accurate, and it's sort of revolutionizing barrel technology as we know it. We're already seeing manufacturers interested in putting this barrel technology on their mainstream rifles, and hopefully in 2026 we see more of that. How about you, Jack? What was your favorite?
Well, that's the other cool part of Roundtable, is that it's not just a chance for them to show us new product, but these manufacturers are in the same room without the pressure of SHOT Show, without the pressure of competition sometimes. And to your point, Avient, how many companies are they going to be working with now, because they got to talk to these firearms manufacturers? XS Sights was there one year. Next thing I know, I saw XS Sights on Smith Wesson lever guns. You know, examples like that seem to happen quite a bit, which I don't know, it's a truly unique opportunity. But let's talk about what people really want to hear about, the new products for the mid-year launch. I think the big one we need to start with the Banish 12 shotgun suppressor. I want to say, I mean, we had to have put collectively as a group thousands of rounds through these Banish 12 shotgun suppressors. I mean, you want to talk about like a break-in test? Like, that was my first question is, okay, cool. You've got a sound suppressor for a shotgun. How reliable is it? Is the semi-auto going to function? Is it going to cycle a semi-auto shotgun? And I believe we had them on Browning and Benelli shotguns. And man, I did not personally see any malfunctions. Did you see any yourself or hear of any malfunctions with the Banish 12?
No, I shot it quite a bit on the Benelli SPE3, and it shot great on that. And man, we got that barrel so screaming hot.
Yeah.
I mean, and even you, it's hard to pull you off the 5 stand when you're going to work on one of those. But one thing I did hear is that they're going to explore a little bit of the Benelli AI technology that's in that barrel system of some of their new Benelli SPE3s, for example. And that AI technology acts a little bit like a choke in a way. So they wanted to be cautious because Banish hadn't had a chance to fully evaluate that suppressor, the Banish 12, on that barrel technology yet. So, that was kind of interesting to see also those considerations that doesn't often come up.
Well, and several thousand rounds later, I would say that they don't have too much to worry about. I'm sure the engineers need to take a look at it and do the fine tuning. But my takeaway was I was quite impressed with your point and shoots. You've got your swing, and then you've got your targets out in front of you. You point and shoot, and on the swing, I did not notice. I mean, you're adding some weight at the end of your barrel. I did not notice any over the top resistance in my left to right swing, but there was nothing in a point and shoot. So if a target was coming straight towards us or even going pretty far, it was pretty easy, just point and shoot. And that's the other big thing, is that I did not perceive any obstruction of the Banish 12 suppressor covering my front sight. I did not cover the target at all. In fact, I didn't really notice it unless you look for it. You see it kind of sticking out on the left and right side of the barrel a little bit, but no obstruction at all. And so for sporting shotgun, upland dove hunting, waterfowl hunting, it's in a pretty, I don't know, it's interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of duck clubs that invest in shotgun suppressors.
We could talk a lot more about the Banish 12. That almost deserves its own podcast segment.
True.
We could talk about the benefits to gun dogs that are out there being used for hunting. We could talk about training trap shooting children, and how it could ease, the noise and some of the anticipation that results from shooting that. But let's move on to some of the other roundtable introductions. And just to talk to a point, the Smith & Wesson, one of the biggest hits out there was some of their distributor exclusives, such as the Lipsy's exclusive model 617 and 610 mountain guns.
Yes.
And, these things were a blast. There's you have a 10 millimeter auto and a 22 long rifle. And this harkens back. It's an N frame and a K frame that is sort of reminiscent of Smith & Wesson of yesteryear. They're, they've got gold bead Patridge style front sights. You got 6 rounds of 10 millimeter or 10 rounds of 22 long rifle. Let me see the barrel lengths here. I took some notes on, and I don't
The
have
big
the
thing for
exact
me
barrel lengths.
on the mountain
Yeah.
revolvers, the 610 and the 617, both of those real American walnut grips. Like
That's right.
The grip felt wonderful in the hand, and I have to say it's a very nice touch to see Smith & Wesson. Like it's not a, you're looking at $1,000 spend for one of these revolvers, but like they didn't cheap out on any of the parts. Like that's a real walnut, and it's very finely done. I believe they were done by Tyler Gunworks for the walnut grips. But that was probably one of my like favorite touches on those revolvers. But the 22 shot like a dream as well. It was a delight to shoot that rimfire revolver.
That's right. Bobby Tyler's got a great reputation for making excellent grips. That's a fantastic collaboration between Smith & Wesson and Tyler Gunworks. And moving on, we also had a Performance Center Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 with the carry comp. And
Yes.
As we saw with a lot of manufacturers, even with the carry guns, comps are everywhere now. You cannot throw a rock at a gun rack without hitting one with a comp on it.
And to that point, like it's, that's a line extension. We saw a number of line extensions, but they're exciting line extensions.
Right.
Like for me, the FPC carbine, now available in 22 long rifle, that's really cool. And on top of that, they launched on top of the M&P9 X series, which is a 22 long rifle semi-auto pistol. It uses the same magazine as the FPC. And so to me, like if I'm getting one, I have to get the other because I've got dual compatibility with the magazines themselves. Threaded barrel on the FPC carbine, so you can run that suppressed. FPC carbine is pretty well established at this point as a reliable folding semi-auto carbine or pistol caliber carbine, which is really exciting. And rimfires, they're hard to beat. So they're line extensions, but they're really cool line extensions, and I think that's pretty impressive.
We also got to see more Kimbers. And Kimber was there with the 2K11 and several new variants. There's target models, there's pro models, and those things have been such a hit. I think Kimber didn't even expect how popular those would be, but they can't go wrong. They continue to improve on those new finishes, mag funnels, grip options, tons of accessories that are also available online. Holsters as well. It's well supported. You've got Aimpoint, who came out with the KOA this year. We actually got to shoot that on the new Glocks. That's tons of fun. I personally love it on the Glock 48X. And of
Eric,
course, they got.
You wrote up the KOA for guns and ammo. What was your biggest takeaway advantage? Like what sets the KOA apart from other closed emitter, even from like the ACRO? Like what sets the KOA apart from other red dots?
For me, it's just a more refined red dot system. It's got very fine graduations between the intensity levels. The batteries are more ergonomic. They're not pronounced. You've got a thinner frame around the window, so it doesn't do that tunnel vision effect for some people. And then aside from that, you've got the 8-cut mounting that is on exclusive to Glock this year. And that A-cut is a brilliant piece of engineering where the front of the KOA wedges into almost a triangle, if you will, and then it is trapped on the back by the rear side assembly, which completes a wedge at the rear. So you've got reciprocating forces that are trapped between these triangular wedge shapes in the slide material. And of course, the optic stays laterally square because of the very small, low profile, thin cuts within. So I really hope the A-cut turns out to be a sight system that's available to other manufacturers. That sight cut is brilliant. I can't wait to see what it does.
That's the big question though, right? Like I think as far as like the efficiency, reliability of the A-cut, like that's pretty well established at this point. It's an incredible mounting interface. But we've got several out there. Doctor is the big one, the Trichicon RMR, and then the Loophole Delta Point Pro. Those are kind of the big mounting interfaces. What are the odds you think other optics manufacturers are going to take advantage of the A-cut mounting interface?
I think a lot of it will depend on what the Aimpoint ask is, and are they going to try and license the A-cut mounting system or make it available for all manufacturers easily and affordably in order to integrate it to existing handgun platforms? Because if the public gets a chance to use it, especially the law enforcement community, I think it's a success. So.
And that's the big thing right now is like a lot of the contracts for the Glock COA combination is for military and law enforcement. Some civilian sales have been out there, but I think it's time to get in the hands of the people, and let's see how the market responds to the new mounting interface. So Eric, with Roundtable, we've talked about a number of products from Smith & Wesson, from Silencer Central, Banish, Suppressors. We each day, so it's a 5-day event, which it's a full week. As you well know, by the end of the week you're exhausted because every day you start the day at Roundtable with these, about from 7 in the morning till lunch. We have presentations from the manufacturers. Then we go to the range all afternoon. It's pretty hot this year, and so we're exhausted by the end of the week. But so what else from our Monday shoot though stood out to you for new products?
All right. Well, of course, we've got Savage. Savage introduced a 110 in the 7mm backcountry.
Right.
That was awesome to shoot. It is super great velocities for a short barrel, and that's the short barrel is what matters there. That short barrel also means I can suppress it now without the penalty you usually get with putting a suppressor that's already 4 to 6 inches long on a barrel that's 22 to 26 inches. Now you've got the length of the shotgun barrel. But with the backcountry, I'm getting 3,000 plus feet per second velocities with very comparable heavy grain for weight bullets, and I'm doing it from a 16 and 18-inch barrels. And
I think that's why a lot of rifle manufacturers are picking up the 7mm backcountry, is because, hey, I can offer an ultra compact mountain weight gun in many ways with a shorter barrel that I can still suppress. And that's why we are seeing quite a bit of pickup across the board. I think at NASGW, we're going to see quite a few more companies announcing that they're offering a 7mm backcountry model.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to harp on Benelli too much, but they've got a bunch of new shotguns and variations, and Franke also within that family of companies unveiled a bunch of new affinities. They've got the Affinity 3, the Sport Trap, and sporting models. They've got a left-hand synthetic for all the southpaws out there, and compacts. So no, those companies are rolling out a lot of fun innovation.
A light tease from Benelli. There's one product in particular that we can't talk about yet that I think is going to be very exciting to a particular market segment that is fans of the Benelli shotgun. So I'm very excited for some certain Benelli products to come out this fall.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go on. Who were the big ones for Tuesday, Eric? That got you excited?
We had Henry Firearms was there, of course, with the Supreme, and the Supreme is always a blast, and 223 a 300 blackout.
So what was really cool is so many of guns and ammo writers and shooters, they've been shooting for so long that when we do these events, a lot of the manufacturers, they set up, they put a bag on the bench, they put a target at 100 yards, and it's like, okay, shoot at that. Well, what's cool about the Cameo shooting complex is that there are steel targets on the side of a mountain ranging from 200 to about 600 or 700 yards. And naturally, it kind of turns into let's see who can freehand shoot that steel plate at 400 yards with the Henry Supreme. And so that's what always gets me. I just chuckle when I see your Tom Beckstrand, Brad Fitzpatrick just freehanding, leaning against a post with a rifle, taking pot shots at targets at 400 yards. But not to brag about GNA riders, but I saw a lot more hits than you might expect freehanding at those distances. With unfamiliar rifle.
It brings some trick shooting out of us too. I know you and we were playing with 9mm out to 300 yards on a nice 18-inch steel plate out there.
Definitely holding high, but it's very satisfying when you hear that little ting at 300 yards steel plates with a 9mm or 45 sometimes as well.
Especially a ting that takes about 2 seconds to come back to your ear.
Exactly. Yeah. But to your point with Henry, there was a like we shot the SPD Hush. That was
Yep.
really fun. We shot that in the 357 Magnum, and we had a scope
Right.
on it. And what I was honestly impressed. We were consistently hitting 400-yard targets with a 357 Magnum lever
Right.
action. And I think that proof research barrel, they've built themselves up quite efficiently for good reason. They're a popular barrel for good reason, and it's because it works. And so the SPD Hush was probably my favorite Henry rifle, but man, the Supreme, a PMAG fed lever action and 223 or 300 blackout, they've got something there.
Yeah, and that's a great company right now. It's doing very well. It's got all the company's pulling its resources into Wisconsin for manufacturing. You've got big made in USA all over everything. They're very proud of it, and they're very charitable organization.
Right.
But on top of that, they're innovating, but not only for, it used to be sort of that blue collar, if you will, segment type of gun, but they've got guns for everybody from,
Really? Yeah.
that rimfire, their very first gun that they ever made in the late 90s, the H10001, is still being offered, as well as premium models, so there's something for everybody with Henry, and they really do touch. They're a tough one to beat in that lever action market.
Their new revolver line too, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's the
big boys.
the big bore revolvers that they offered. Thoroughly impressed, especially for guys looking for that bear defense rifle. I think that's a solid, it's reasonable, it's on the more expensive end for Henry, but it's still in the reasonably priced spectrum of the marketplace for a big bore revolver. And there's just something cool about them, right? Big revolvers are fun to shoot. Even if you don't shoot them a lot, it's fun to just go have fun with those. And yeah, to your point, I'm also a big fan of that. What do they say? They say if it's not made in the USA, it's not worth making, I believe is their tagline. That's a beautiful tagline in an age of foreign production for a lot of firearms. And not that those are bad firearms by any means, but there's something satisfying about true 100% American-made firearms.
Well, to that point, we had foreign manufactured firearms represented at Roundtable as well. On Wednesday, we had SDS Arms with a ton of their guns. Now, their big selling point is their value proposition.
Right.
I mean, here, if you want an alternative to, say, a Staccato 1911, for example, or 2011, you can find that for less than $1,000 with one of SDS Arms Military Armament Corporation MAC pistols. They've got the MAC-9 series, and they're coming out with other calibers as well. And they're HK MP5 tributes, if you will. They're the MAC-5 and MAC-5Ks. They are a ton of fun. 9mm. I mean, you get all that sensation of something that would otherwise cost 2 or 3 times as much.
Well, Eric, you had a pretty cool experience in Turkey visiting the various manufacturers of SDS Arms related brands. What was your big takeaway from your Turkey visit? Seeing these manufacturing, like they're Turkish-made firearms, but like, what does Turkish manufacturing look like compared to U.S. manufacturing?
So there was a couple of misconceptions that really got turned around for me by visiting Turkey. One of them is when you hear of a product, say, made in China, a lot of people, whether you agree with it or not, view it as, they violated some intellectual property rights and stole a design from another company, or they're doing it with cheap labor and they're not paying their employees reasonably. Turkey, it proved entirely different. It's not that at all. I mean, if you're looking for a value-based product that you can go to sleep and feel good about at night, you're supporting a country who's enthusiastic to support the American firearms market. They love guns, they love shooting, they love innovating, and they love taking what's trending in the United States and coming up with a very rapidly produced version of it that's made on the same machines that would otherwise be made in any other company in the United States. I mean, CNC machines, as Jim Tarsit likes to say,
doesn't
care about the country that they're in. You
He's
enter the
absolutely
numbers and they produce them.
If you took that Turkish CNC machine and plopped it in Germany one day and then Missouri the next, it's going to spit out the exact same firearm components, and then assembly is assembly at a certain point. And so
Yeah.
I think, and so, yes, I like, we were just talking about Henry and they're made in the USA. I love that, but I also love the value proposition of Turkish made firearms. And to your point, they love our market and they're excited to be able to make firearms for the U.S. market. And that's honorable.
And let me say one more thing about that is, anytime we can invite more people into our hobby and into our passion, into concealed carry, it's good for the whole industry. That's
True.
why I'm not hating on one or the other. If someone decides that a Turkish made firearm is exactly right for them and satisfies their needs, whether it be for using a Spandau shotgun in the field or, a Henry rifle, I mean, good for them. Good on you. I want to encourage you to do that. You're not going to get burned. I mean, these guns are incredible today. Guns made today are better than guns made almost ever. The quality control is there. You've got better warranties. These companies, whether or not it's a limited liability or a warranty or a full warranty, I mean, they're standing behind their products like never before. And
I think that's an interesting point because, a lot of people, they get upset about the politics of foreign countries. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But one of my big takeaways from your description of the trip was that these are businessmen, just like businessmen in the US, they're just trying to build a business that has, as best quality control standards as they can do and offer a great product at a great price.
Right.
And is that any different from a U.S. businessman? So I think my takeaway is that, they've got great CNC machines, just like ones in the U.S., and they're excited to be a part of U.S. gun culture. And that's the more we can spread U.S. gun culture, I think the better.
Yep. Well, and last bit on some of the Turkish made guns, we also had Sarzılmaz, SAR USA represented there, and they have a new CEO out of Texas, a former military. I love the guy. He's got a great attitude, and he was actually a convert. He used to love expensive 1911s and tried out a SAR 9 and was totally impressed by how reliable it was. Now he's gone back and helped Sarzılmaz improve, enhance, and refine those SAR 9 pistols as well. But there's more coming from them. Among them, they showed us a SAR 9 compact, and it was all black, but it is actually a very concealable option now for concealed carry users interested in say a $300 striker fired 9 option. There you go. That's a gun, and they have holsters to support it. So,
well, speaking, while we're on the topic of Turkish manufactured firearms, we also had Century Arms and Canik out there at Roundtable. What were your big takeaways from those two manufacturers?
Well, one is maybe the Turkish made Centuries and Caniks aren't going to be the only thing that they're known for, because they're making the Canik Meta 9, MC9 Prime. It's kind of a long name. Meta MC9 Prime that made in USA now.
That's true. Yes, that's a good point.
So it's pretty
very
cool.
Impressive firearm too. That very impressive handgun, and the package is cool. I love, it is like a complete kit with your case. I believe it includes a holster for many of the models as well. It's a true out of the box impressive firearm that you don't really need to go buy anything besides ammo and maybe some targets to go shoot. And that was pretty impressive.
Canik's tickling our affection for some popular Hollywood movie films, such as Pulp Fiction, for example. When Samuel L. Jackson's character opens up the briefcase, the audience doesn't get to see what's inside, but it's special because it's glowing gold out of it. And when you open up one of those Canik cases, I kind of felt like that was going on. But then you get inside of it, not only do you have the pistol in there, you have the holster, you've got tools. You also have a medallion that's reminiscent of the John Wick film series.
Yes.
So I just love all these nods and homage, if you will, to these cult films.
It's an experience, right? You're actually you're not just buying a gun, you're buying an experience in many ways. And they put on an incredible package. On top of that, what was really cool about Roundtable is many of our writers, they're writing at Roundtable. And so we had So you can go on gunsandammo.com right now and see reviews literally in the field. We went out, we shot this, at various distances, we put it through its paces, and it's not necessarily the full Guns and Ammo review that you see in Guns and Ammo magazine, but it's a what do we call it, a quick hit that we put it a reasonable amount of rounds through it, and we're able to give it a good evaluation. And you can go on gunsandammo.com right now and see some very cool reviews from Roundtable that we were able to post while we were there.
Well, on that end, Century Arms had that Draco rifle, and I sent, as soon as I saw it, I sent Tom Dexter and I said, "Hey, you got to go to the hotel room tonight and write 800 words on this Draco." And it shoots 7.62 by 39. It's got a short barrel. It's actually I guess it's actually a pistol, isn't it?
Yes, and talk about muzzle blast, right? Like it is
it's a fire breather,
like a 55-gallon drum of muzzle blast at the end, but it's pretty cool. I think we'll put a picture up of that from Roundtable shooting the Draco, or is it Draco or Draco? I've always what
it's only a couple letters away from Dragon, and really I view it like Dragon's breath. The way we saw that flame come 3 feet out the muzzle, it was impressive.
But for
a lot of unburned powder.
For guys that love AKs, though, this is a cool one. Like this is, I wish I could say I was more of an AK guy, but I'm not the biggest AK guy. And I kind of need one of these now. Was my takeaway from shooting it.
It's a crowd pleaser, sure to make anybody who has one popular guy at the range.
Right. Well, I'm gonna, as long as your friends.
Well, yeah, that's right. Watch out for the blast left and right of you. If you're in a covered firing line, people might get irritated with you shooting one of those. But moving on, let's see what else we had. Oh man, we had Warren. We also have accessories. It's not just all firearms, but like Warren was there with some very super ultralight alloy rings and cantilever mounts and solutions for attaching optics to your spotting scope. I mean, they have really stretched out what you once thought Warren was known for.
The ultralight line, especially, they have a number of ultralight products now that a lot of guys are chasing weight. For David Fabian, our editor of the Special Interest Publications, is what do we call it? Infamous amongst Guns and Ammo staff for his. I believe he technically thinks he's built the lightest AR-15 ever. Was it less than 2 pounds? It might have been.
It was.
It was less than 2 pounds. So he is always, there. But that's, there is a market segment
kick.
That it does. It's a very unique use case scenario, but sometimes we have to explore new boundaries for the sake of science. And for the reasonable weight chasers out there, I think I was really impressed with the ultralight series from Warren. Tool-wise, Real Avid continues to have impressive products. They have a number of new ratchet screwdriver bit sets. Cover them in a range bag column in the October issue of Guns and Ammo. Always impressed with new tool products from Real Avid. And then we had Safariland as well. And we were talking about naming conventions for Safariland. I'm curious if we'll see, we talked about Roundtable influencing these manufacturers. I'm curious if our conversation with Safariland will bear fruit in the next year or so. But were there any new holsters from Safariland that caught your eye, Eric?
Well, they've got that concealed carry holster, and forgive me, the names escape me right now. Is it it's not Inflex.
Is it the Incog X?
The Incog X, that's it. Yes. Incog X.
Yes.
And they've got some new wraps for those, material coverings that are just, if you're interested in wearing a holster that's got multicam in it, even if the world doesn't see it because it's concealed, the holster looks really cool.
It is. Well, in many ways, I see it as like fancy underwear. If you're out and about, people don't see it. But, if you feel better wearing it, then because you've got a special camo print on there, then more power to you.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. And they've, of course, got great duty holsters. They continue to accommodate red dot sights and the variety of combinations with lights, pistol lights on guns. That's ever more important, and also a difficult thing for holster manufacturers to keep up with, because all the combinations add more SKUs in the catalog, and trying to ensure that the pistol is secure to the level that Safariland requires them to be. Good on them. They keep rolling out new ones. So if you have a real specific combination of light, pistol, and optic. Keep an eye on what Safari Lane's coming out with.
Absolutely.
All right, let's look ahead real quick. We've also got Ruger was there with Marlin.
Yeah, that was cool. And they had the team from Dead Air as well to look at the new RXM suppressor. That was pretty interesting to have the engineers from Dead Air kind of walk us through the RXM suppressor a little bit.
We have to talk about that a second.
Of course.
So some people, even I, jumped to the wrong conclusion right away. When I heard that Ruger was teaming up with Dead Air to collaborate on a suppressor line, the RX.
You thought we're just putting the Ruger brand on the side of a Dead Air can and calling
right.
it.
And Dead Air is going to give you something that maybe they used to make a long time ago, or maybe that doesn't sell very well. You slap a Ruger name on it, and here we have a product. But no, Ruger actually insisted they are going to work with Dead Air and make a ground up design. It's a fresh design for Dead Air.
It is a true Ruger can. It's made by Dead Air, but this is a true Ruger can for Ruger, like as you said, ground up design. This is not, and it's like I said, Dead Air's making it, but it's not really their product line. It's Ruger's. So and I wonder, is that a trend we might see with the repeal of the $200 tax stamp? Are more firearm manufacturers, are they interested in getting into the suppressor game now that the barrier to entry is virtually gone, and we have reduced wait times and no tax stamp? I think I'm going to be getting a lot more cans, and I'm wondering what manufacturers are thinking the same thing.
The timing couldn't be more perfect for suppressors, because we're now also seeing 3D printing technology revolutionize the way suppressors work. No longer are we simply seeing suppressors made of stacked baffles that are welded together, but we're seeing like powdered Inconel and titanium materials now with complex cavities and shapes and wormholes throughout, in order to manage the time that gas flow is occurring inside of the can, to eliminate flash, to eliminate back pressure, reduce felt recoil, to improve all the properties that suppressors are known for to a level that we haven't seen before, and allow them to be smaller, more compact, more lightweight, using lightweight powdered metal materials. And we're going to see a broad range. We're going to see very affordable suppressors, in that, I believe, in that $200-300 range. They're going to be more conventional design. Then you're going to see more premium suppressors in that $1,200 to $2,000 design, if you want the rare earth metals and in a 3D printed with a lot of engineering study time behind it. This is an exciting time to get involved in suppressors.
It is, and like we to backtrack a little bit, we talked about Savage already, and we completely forgot to mention that they also enter the suppressor game. So I just asked what other manufacturers. Savage is into the suppressor game now, and I would think their coolest can is the AccuThirty B.O.B, back over barrel suppressor.
Right.
And what's interesting about this is this design, as I understand it, is somewhat popular in Europe already, but it's a suppressor that it threads onto the barrel. A significant portion of the suppressor actually extends over the barrel itself, and so you only have you have essentially full length suppressor performance in half the length as far as what actually sticks out beyond the end of your barrel. So it's a compact suppressor, but it's also a full length suppressor, and that's kind of interesting. And so I think new designs like that are going to start popping up. And so, and on top of that, there's the hunting market, and then there's the more tactical home defense market for suppressors. And I think we're going to see rapid evolution in both of those segments. We're going to see lightweight hunters. We're going to be we're going to be chasing lightweights with the hunting side, and we're going to be chasing low back pressure and other features for the tactical side. So to your point, a very exciting time to be in the suppressor game right now.
All right, one of the last notes I'll make, one of my favorite stations occurred on, what day was it? It was Tuesday, July 29th. Hodgdon RCBS presented, and they had a fun competition for all the riders out there.
Yes.
And let's hold off on revealing who won that competition, but I had some hopes. But what made it interesting was you had to load 3 cartridges on your own. You had to use the new RCBS powder scale, precisely come up with the number of grains. I believe it was like 42 grains of powder for the particular cartridge we were loading. We'd pour it, use one of their new anti-static funnels that instantly dropped all of that powder inside of a primed case.
Yep.
Then we would go over to the rock chuck station, slam the RCBS press handle, load a bullet through one of their new dies that centers and precisely inserts it to the right depth every time. And we came out with our own cartridge. We did that 3 times, went over to a rifle, and then with one of our accuracy testing targets set up at 100 yards, we had to put 3 rounds. The competition was as tight of a group as possible. And that was pretty entertaining.
I saw a lot of very careful, meticulous shots, and that was pretty cool. Put quite a few GNA staff are pretty experienced reloaders. Now, this wasn't necessarily like a hardcore reloading session. We're not resizing. We didn't resize the dies and ensure that the primer depth was seated perfectly. But you did need to check your bullet seating depth. You did need to confirm that. And so the products we used,
we had a caliper to measure overall length.
So RCBS, we were using their new Matchmaster line. So they have a micrometer bullet depths. It sets your bullet depth, and then there was the non-static funnels. That was very impressive. But was really interesting to me was the new powder dispenser. And I was looking at this like, oh, this is really cool. I really want one. Then I looked it up online, and it's almost $1,000. And I'm just like, wow. Holy cow, but it's very impressive because it's a dual dispenser system where it can and the turnaround, like basically, you'd put your tin down, you'd you get your powder charge, you load it, and then as soon as you set it down, like it spits it out fast. It has 2 powder dispensers built into it. So it's got like a larger one that feeds out a lot, and then a small one that gets your micro, your charges set. And so I'm very curious to learn more about that, because that is quite the jump in powder dispenser technology for price point wise, certainly. But the technology behind it's pretty impressive. And to your point, that was really cool. That was the first time that we have competitions at Roundtable all the time, but this was the first time we had to load our own ammo to go shoot said competition. Yeah. It was an interesting twist that they gave us.
Yes. And, that powder dispenser loaded to the 10th of a grain.
Right.
So very precise. And I love that we were responsible for our own quality control. And then we got on there, and who won that match?
Yep. Guns and Ammo, longtime contributor and editor, Craig Boddington. The old guy still got it. Let's just, that man has been writing about guns for, more than 40 years now. And he outshot everybody, he knows what he's doing.
So he was the second shooter in this competition. And what was hilarious is when he got up the bench, we had Joseph on Benedict on a Burris spotting scope just to our left. And he was looking through there, and he goes, well, Craig, I think you did pretty good. It's my best JVB impression. But
a very good JVB impression. Yeah.
Craig looks back over at us, and he goes, yeah, I did. Yeah. And he walks away.
Didn't even, what? I think there's something said for being humble, but sometimes when you got it, you got it. And that was a pleasure to watch, because I grew up reading Craig Boddington as a kid. And then I got to go to a Guns and Ammo Roundtable and watch him outshoot everybody at Guns and Ammo. That's whenever he tells me something, I listen.
To his credit, he did just have his very first eye surgery, which he said has improved his shooting as if he's 20 years old again. And I believe it. If you go out there and you get some of this eye surgery, it can do wonders for your shooting ability, apparently.
Well, no gun writer is without a list of good excuses, and that is a good one as any for me. So I'll say that I have to wear glasses still, and he got eye surgery, so that's why he won and I didn't. I'm gonna use that excuse for myself. I think I'll take it.
Right.
Well, so really cool stuff in the reloading game. Are there any other brands we?
Yeah, I'll just have to say too. Horizon Firearms is out there.
Yeah, they were.
Wow, they have some very bespoke firearms, but also what they're known for is working with Hornady, developing that 22 Creedmoor.
Right.
That is a cartridge. If you're interested in precision performance, you have to check out the 22 Creedmoor from Hornady. And Hornady's got a long list of new products coming. We're under embargo. We can't talk.
I wish we could.
Under NDA.
I don't know how they do it. Do they just have like 30 development teams that there had to have been at least 15 to 20 new bullet offerings there, as well as new offerings on their safe lines, which I don't know.
The Hornady security products.
Exactly. That might be my favorite thing from Hornady this year is the new products that they're going to be launching in their safe lines. That's very exciting. But
the timing of that though wasn't an accident, because we're witnessing nationally a whole bunch of safe storage laws come through state legislatures and get passed. And, I know like January 1st in Illinois, for example, they have a Safe Storage Act coming on, and people are going to be looking for options besides the trigger lock, the cable that goes through the trigger guard. And Hornady is going to be one of those solution providers.
There's going to be a lot of new 2A battlefront territory on that front because, while I agree that we should lock up our firearms, I'm very much against the government telling me.
Let's qualify that a little bit.
Right. I love gun safes. I have several. I encourage people to use them, but I definitely get pretty hot when the government comes in and tells me, oh, you have to use that. So that's going to be an interesting new battlefront, new battle line, if you will, for the 2A community. And we're just going to have to keep fighting the good fight. But we've had some wonderful victories with the repeal of the tax stamp. So if we won that, we can win this as well. And until that time comes, this is a good, Hornady's got some cool products for gun safe technology, which are universally, I recommend across the board. Get a gun safe. Your guns are worth, keeping in a safe place. So, but with that, man, Eric, we have talked about a lot of new products. I think the big thing to wrap up with is a lot of this we're going to be covering in depth in Guns and Ammo magazine, on Guns and Ammo TV, on gunsandammo.com. And so, if you're excited about some of these new products, keep an eye on Guns and Ammo, and we're going to have some in-depth reviews for them.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks again for joining us on this podcast to talk about Roundtable. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Eric. We'll have to do this again after next Roundtable.